I have a 2015 Chevy Traverse, and it has a P0496 in it. So an evap purge flow detected when purge is not commanded. This is also on older cars, a P0441 and a P1441, both the same code. So what this is saying, the purge valve is turned on even though it's not commanded on. So if I want to look at this, right, I'll touch this trouble code. And top repair on this is replacing the purge solenoid, and I agree with that. Everything else is statistically insignificant and probably didn't fix the vehicle. Maybe a fuel tank pressure sensor, but certainly not the other stuff. So I'm going to look at the freeze frame on this, right? Because what this car is saying is the purge valve is turned on, and I haven't commanded it on. Well, how would it know that, right? So it is looking at fuel tank pressure. So if the purge valve is on, it's going to put vacuum in the tank. So let's look to see if this is the case, right? So I'm going to grab my 496. So again, a freeze frame is, a little snapshot of the data and tells you what's going on when the code's set. So notice somebody cleared the codes on this 153 miles ago, and 152 miles ago it set the code. So it went a whole mile before the code's set again. Notice it says 3 trips that completed and the code tripped. So, and then 0 trips without it setting, and 19 trips without being able to test it. So this shows that every single time it tested it, it failed. It never passed, not once. And my tests are kind of hard to run, right? Because 19 times it tried and couldn't finish. All righty. What I'm concerned about, though, is notice I'm going to have evap purge solenoid 0. So the purge solenoid is turned off, and I have 13 inches, almost 14 inches of water column of vacuum in the tank. So the purge valve is what puts vacuum in there, right? So I have vacuum in the tank even though the purge valve is turned off. So let me give you probably what the problem is this purge valve goes bad. It's common. They get stuck. They turn on, even though they're not commanded on by the computer. They get stuck, turn on, and they put vacuum in the tank. So let me show you how this system works, and then we'll see, show you exactly how to diagnose it, because the diagnosis on this is fairly simple, actually. So here is an evap system. Get the zoom right. So here's what we have. We have a fuel tank. I have a charcoal canister. And of course, this captures gas fumes coming out of the tank. I have a vent valve, and this is what seals the system closed. I have a purge valve, which is the part we were just looking at. Filler neck, filler cap, test port, and then I have a little gauge stuck on top of here, but the computer has to have some way of knowing what the pressure or vacuum is in the tank. So here's what happens. Let's say you're filling your fuel tank, or the car is just sitting outside on a nice sunshiny day. Any gas fumes that would normally escape the tank get forced down my vapor line and into the charcoal canister. And in this is activated charcoal. Nothing special, just activated charcoal. And it captures gas fumes, and it really does a great job of that. Any excess pressure is allowed to escape out the vent, which is open all the time, except when the system's being tested. So again, gas fumes can normally, go in and out of here, no problem, and they will get absorbed by the canister. When I start the car, what happens is engine warms up, purge valve turns on, and there's vacuum on this line. And this will vacuum fresh air in through the charcoal canister, suck up all those gas fumes as we drive down the road, run them into the engine and burn them. When that happens, when the purge valve turns on, a tiny little bit of vacuum does appear in the tank. Even though it's able to flow freely through this, a little bit of vacuum appears. And I can use that tiny little bit of vacuum in order to diagnose the system. So what we're going to do is we're going to start the car, and we're going to watch the fuel tank pressure on the scan tool. And if vacuum develops, the purge valve is stuck on. All right, back to the car. So here's what we're going to do. Now that you can see a little bit, I'm going to zoom in a little better. Whoops. Get my tension right here on my camera stand. So there is the purge valve. Here's the scan tool. So let's go back, and we're going to look at live data. Now, what I'm going to show you does not have to be done with a good scan tool. You can do it with any scanner. So watch, we're going to do it with a professional level scan tool. So I go to evap data. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to find my fuel tank pressure sensor. I know it's here someplace. I must have missed it. Another professional video here. Alrighty, here we go. Fuel tank pressure in inches of water column. So it's at 1.43 volts. That's really, 0 PSI on any GM, 1.4 volts, and it's showing a trace pressure in there. So what I'm going to do is, watch, I'm going to unplug this purge valve electrically. So if I pop the connector off, there's no way that sucker can turn on. Let's go back to the data and watch. I'm going to start this. And as soon as I do, you're going to see vacuum develop in the tank. So notice here, we're -1 inch water column. Tops out about 1.3. I'm going to shut it off. And back to my point 2 again. So this thing is definitely putting vacuum in the tank through the purge valve. So anyway, what you saw was, I'm doing this with, again, a professional level scan tool, but maybe you don't have one of those. So I'm going to exit out of this. Maybe you have just an OBD2 code reader style scan tool. Maybe the Torque app on your phone, whatever. There's lots of extremely inexpensive ones. So you can put any professional level tool in OBD2 mode, which makes it equal to one of those scan tools. It's just generic OBD2. So I'm going to go down to data. And I'm going to find the same data. Who knows what units yours is going to be in? I think this one is in pascals, maybe. I don't know. We'll scroll down and see it in a second here. Alrighty, so notice, coolant data, fuel trims, right, all the things I had before. And I'm going to scroll down and you're going to see here. Evap system purge pressure in pascals, right? So you can Google this if you do the conversion if you want, but 47 pascals is atmospheric pressure. And so watch, I'm going to start this up and we'll watch what this does. And so again, you could do this with an app on your phone or a cheap $30 Walmart code reader or whatever. You're just going to go look at live data and find evap system pressure. So as soon as I start that out, bang! Look at the vacuum being developed in the tank. And by the way, if you do the conversion on this to inches of water column, you'll see that the pressure change is the same. It's just a different scale. So anyway, that's it. That's purge flow detected when purge flow isn't commanded code. If you want to even take a step further, you can pop this hose off. And you can feel vacuum on this port. And so again, it's commanded off and there's vacuum being pulled in there if it's trying to purge. So anyway, P0496 on just about any GM car, really just about any car out there, but certainly any GM car.